Hello, this is Madone from Strike Posture Set. Today we are gonna see the last part of the CAS sequence, which is from step 8 to 12. So we've seen all the steps to the readbacks. So now the readbacks are done, the CAS brief is done, and we just need to move on to that correlation to make sure the pilot is looking at the right target or he has inputted the right coordinate in his system. So let's go to that. So correlation is the process by which the JTAG FACA coordinates and confirms that the attacking aircraft and or third-party contributor have acquired the correct target or mark. And here, third-party contributor is very important. Don't forget, if you have third parties, to correlate with them as well. If you use two different aircraft for bedelazing, you will have to correlate with both of them. If you use, let's say, another JTAG to ground lace the target for you, you will have to correlate with him. And correlation is required on each and every CAS attack. Confirmers will be asked. So be ready as a pilot to describe some small terrain features. So remember, for bomb on target, you have to call in target target, captured, contact sparkle. And so for the visual talk-on, we use that method that is called FIDO. It stands for from in direction of distance objective. And for that we use brevities. The first one being for all neutral object, which is not really objective, by the way. For the O, it's more object, I would say, because objective is kind of misleading. It's not always your objective as to say as your target. So neutral objects, for example, a crossroad, you can call contact. If you don't see that, you say looking. If it's a friendly unit, you will say visual if you see it. If you don't, you say blind. And if it's enemy, you say tally or no joy. So here on the right side is a small example of a map talk-on. My reference point is that rectangular shaped lake on the southwest of Kobrilli Airfield. Let's say my target is on this small blue dot here, which is a parking lot next to the shore. Well, first think about the path you want to take. Think before you speak. So you see there is this big X-ray junction that you're probably gonna use because it's obvious, and then you can go up to that T junction here and then move up here. So that's probably the path I'm gonna take. You could also try maybe here, it looks like there's a tree line pointing towards that road to the northwest, and then cross here, crossing the MSR here. You can do that with aircrafts that don't have the TGP and only their eyes, and you have to use very basic features and go from big to small. There's a rule of thumb for the unit of measure. You don't want to go with more than 5 units when you move, otherwise you just get lost, and no less than 1/4 of a unit. And also you need to think about the pilot's point of view. If there are trees, you can expect him to not see a road, for example, so pay attention to that as well. So let's start our talk-on. We'll ask the pilot to call contact on the lake, and then confirm with him that there is that railway passing to the direct east, northwest, southeast. So I know he's looking at the same thing. And then I decide of my unit of measure, which will be the length of the western side from north to south, called contact unit. And from the southwest corner, that's when I start my FIDO. So from the southwest corner, proceed cross country to the south. For half a unit of measure, you will reach an X-ray junction with a bridge crossing an MSR. So contact. From that X-ray junction, proceed to the west along the road 4 units of measure until you reach a T junction with a base oriented parallel to the shoreline. From that T junction, proceed along the road to the north for 1 unit of measure. You will reach a T junction with a leg to the east. So he will call contact that T junction here. So I can confirm that he's looking at the right thing and already get him on target. So I can call, this is the target area. Confirm what you see on the northeast of the T junction, and you will see I got a small parking lot surrounded by another road to the north, oriented west-east. And then I know he's in that rectangle here. So I could have started from the airfield here, but that's the thing, if you start from too far you have to use big units and you can lose people, and then you have to refine using smaller units. But also remember, you can make anchor points along the way. For example, you could make anchor point alpha on the X-ray here. So if you mess up, you can go back to anchor point alpha, as both of you know what it is. And that's it for the FIDO. And again, if you want more example, I've done a video with the CVW66 and Maverick, which is just practicing torque on with random stuff. You can check that out, it's in the description, and it should show up on the video right now. So bomb on coordinate is just that panel readback that you need to do. You just need that line 4 and 6 from the system, and you will be done with it. So we are now moving on attack and SSFX, which is step 9 and 10. So now you're correlated, and for the attack, just make sure to clear the airspace. All the assets need to call established. That's how you secure your deconfliction and make sure it's effective. And then you can proceed for the attack. You don't want any asset to cross weapons, envelopes, or conflict with any other assets. So think about drones, the artillery, the medevacs. And if you have a specific calls you want from the pilot, you need to ask him ahead, especially for the ground lasing that we will see in another video. And so on the pilot's side here, you just need to show up on the right heading and call it in, and then you wait for the JTAC to clear you. If you're not within restrictions, the JTAC will assess that and it will abort you, and you need to confirm aborting. So you dropped your bomb, you say 1 away, 30 seconds, splash observed. Now what did it do to your target? The JTAC has to look at it, or if he can't, he will ask you the BDA. If the attack is unsuccessful, you will re-attack. If the target has changed or moved too far from the initial game plan and CAS brief, the JTAC will have to update you on that. Make sure you are still correlated to the proper target. And if the target is on the same location, that's a lot easier. No need for new CAS brief, just maybe updates on new final ticketing or something, and you can go ahead and do another attack. Now battle damage assessment, which is step 11. So the minimum is successful, unsuccessful, or unknown for the mission, so the pilot knows what state is the mission at, what if he can move on with something else. But the more detailed format is here. It's called the salutor. I didn't include the U, it's the unit, which is usually useless. Even in real life we don't really mention that. So we go with size, activity, so that means what was the equipment you destroyed and in which state is it now. So for example, 1 by T-72 destroyed. Location, you can say as per 9 or as briefed if it didn't move, and if it moved you just give an offset with a, for example, 500 meters north from a briefed location. Try to give accurate grids, and if the bomb impacted off target, then you can also calculate where the bomb landed and give that to the pilot so he can assess what went wrong. Is it his fault or is it the weapon system? Then you give the time in Zulu, so it's expressed in hour, minutes, and remarks are just if you needed re-attack, the munition that you expended, which is usually the pilot will know that, the mission number, all that stuff, and if the mission is successful or unsuccessful, you can mention that here. Step 12 is the routing, safety of flight. So safety of flight first. Once your aircraft has attacked the target, you want to observe the battlefield, what's going on. Are there any movement, any ACA threats that came up? And you want to maybe redeconflict your aircraft accordingly. And also if you use the abort code, you need to request a new one, because obviously the code will be compromised if you use ramrod. You need to do that as soon as you abort the aircraft. And now also be prepared to give an egress route for living assets as they are done with their playtime and they need to RTB. You want to guide them through the battlefield. If you have active gun to target line, you need to tell them where to go to exit. Give them something safe and don't let the airplanes touch. That's the basic rule. So that's pretty much it for routing and safety of flight. There's not much to say because it's just the same as step 1, but just for egressing the area. As a conclusion, remember there is no best way, only the safe way. You need to adapt your game plan and sequence accordingly. It's no problem to, for example, bump the setup in case of troops in contact and do it after your first game plan and first attack. It's like a toolbox in which you pick up the right tool and make up your own recipe with what you have on the field. So thank you again for watching, and hope to see you in game or over the Discord. See ya!